Monday. Now we get into the Capitalk Forum discussion in just a moment, unpacking this issue of rank marshal as well as service delivery in council city ranks. Now I'm joined in this conversation by Stanley Gama. He is head of corporate communications in the city of Harare, and I am also joined by Brian Kazingizi. He is former rank marshal, but he'll give us a little bit of his story, and now a commuter omnibus operator to discuss this issue. Now, to get the conversation going, Vagama Manira Kanaka, thanks so much for joining us this evening. And then coming into the studio, Brian, it is a good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us.
Good evening, thank you.
Wonderful. All right, let's start things off. Vagama, tell us a little bit about the council's response and position. Kune now Zema rank marshals, arrest of rank marshals and allegations of corruption. How are you dealing with these issues? Are they known to you, and what is the council's position and response?
Yeah, but firstly, we need to discuss the historical issue around Yema rank marshals.
What are the historical issues?
Yeah, during time of course, it was the time extraordinary situation which demanded extraordinary intervention. So what happened is Makombe, remember, I'm from town. I got Mazupko. So Mazupko, they took over everything. So after that, Pakazoka, Mazupko, everything getting back to normal. Tao Sagabazo take over. And unfortunately, my towns are under take over. Shanda Pamuja Combi operators. Combi operators, they own those people. They fund those people, they give those people money. So, Kanapak with chaos and everything, they will be responsible. But anyway, as a city and city council, we are taking measures to take them out. Remember, the city council is repossessed the 40th Street, they've repossessed the Market Square. What's only left is the Copacabana, and we are working on it. And we are working together with the police to make sure we get rid of these people.
Asaka, all right, I see what you meant about us going a few steps back. Mimi, when you are defining terms, chinonzi rank marshal, chinonzi tout, jaka siana papi, and in terms of the city council's lenses, what is lawful and what is unlawful there?
Both of them, which is marshal town, I don't think there's any difference. They are the same. They just cause chaos from Marengme to harassing our residents, harassing passengers, demanding money from people and so on. They are the same. So we treat them as the same. We don't want them in our land.
All right, I'm coming to Brian now, who's in the studio. You're hearing what Mr. Gama is saying.
Yes.
You say you used to be a rank marshal, now you're an operator.
Yes.
Is that what is happening on the ground?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gama. I think it was very good of you to actually highlight what happened from the COVID era. But back to the question, who is a rank marshal? Even if you Google, a rank marshal is basically just an individual who's directing traffic. In this case, in a rank, you are directing traffic, you are managing order in the ranks. It is good that my co-participant has actually highlighted that there was a time when Zupco took over the ranks, right? Zupco brought in their inspectors. They were manning the ranks, making sure that there was order in the ranks. But when Zupco left and the combis were coming back, there was a gap, right? We have a few inspectors that remained in the ranks, but we also had individuals coming to the front to say, okay, we are going to man the ranks. Where were these individuals coming from? They were basically drivers and conductors. Most of them, they'd lost their jobs during the COVID era because when COVID came, most of the combis went to private entities to provide shuttle buses, right? Most of these guys, they lost their jobs. So when combis were reintroduced into the system, we had individuals coming to look for work. But because the combis were still little at that time, we had individuals that volunteered to control the ranks, but for a fee, right? So I think there is now controversy.
And who pays this fee?
Okay, because these guys relate with the drivers and the conductors that are on the ground. They agreed that if you are going to provide me with this particular service of maintaining order in the ranks, we are going to give you something, right? It was probably for their operational cost, like food, lunches, airtime, and stuff like that. I think the reason why I came here is to demystify this whole thing, to make it clearer. Who is a rank marshal? What are they really doing on the ground? So you look at a rank like Speak Avenue rank, or what we call Copacabana rank. We have got combis, we've got buses, right? When a combi arrives from the urban areas, there is offloading of passengers, right? But because we want order in the ranks, you have got an individual who actually allocates you a card or a number to send you to the holding bay, right? The holding bay is COCOM, right? Then you are written in a book to say your number plate, so that we have that sequence, right? So you have one individual at the offloading bay, you have an individual at the holding bay, right? That is going to now say, that guy who's loading the vehicles at the Copacabana, when the vehicles are running little, right, they actually call each other to say, bring in more what? More vehicles. This is something that started happening, I think, from the end of, beginning of this year, actually. And I was actually part of that team, right? That gap, right, is what now is bringing this controversy. To say, when Zupco left, the inspectors left, right? Then the conductors and the drivers derived a way to actually have order within amongst themselves. Then they came up with these rank marshals. But there is a misconception, or the term rank marshal is used interchangeably. You have a rank marshal and a tout, right? Who is a tout? A tout is someone who's persisting for business, shouting for business. Right. And
but Mr. Gama says here that as far as the city council is concerned, it's one and the same thing. D699, hapana difference.
All right. It is good that he is on the line.
Please come again, Mr. Gama.
Are these registered with Tito Ferrari so that we know they are there? They are not, right? So if they are not, they are operating illegal. It's the same thing. What we need is for council to control those ranks, like what we are doing on 4th Street and Market Square, and that's the norm around the world. We don't want everyone and anyone to just come and say, I'm a rank marshal, I'm a tout, what. No, that's not the thing. We need to clean our streets of that. Because this chaos, okay, if we have rank marshals and so on, what my colleague is saying, that they do their job well, they control traffic from Coventry from the holding bay then to the rank. Why do we have chaos in town?
I think that's a good question, Mr. Gama. And I was actually looking forward to that question because back in the days, Copacabana, I would keep referring to Copacabana because that's where I'm, predominant. The rank used to just harbor buses, right? And you've got those Zupco guys, selling tickets and so forth. But after COVID, things have changed. Copacabana is now an economic hub in a way. You have the drivers, you have the combis basically. You have got the drivers, you have got the conductors, you have got vendors, right? You have got children living and, surviving on the streets, those that we call street kids, right? You have got what we call Zimbuya, those ladies that are sweeping from Sito Ferrari. Right? So it has actually become a community of people that are surviving in a very little space. It has become an economic hub. So chaos right now, the reason why we are here today is to make it clearer that in as much as we have rank marshals, we have actually put all the blame on chaos on rank marshals. But we are not living in isolation. We have got children that are living there, that are actually sheltering on the ranked terminuses. We've got vendors, right? They've put their sheds, right? We've got people selling tea, right?
And then also there's open defecation happening there, exactly. And all manner of things.
And there are also thieves, right? There are also thieves that are thriving on those bus terminals because it's a very congested area, right? You've got a lot of movement, traffic movement, passengers moving around. So it's a hub that has got a lot of people. So I'm trying to just, clear this chaos thing. In as much as we are trying to say, okay, these guys are bringing order to the ranks, we also have others that are mischievous.
Outside of the traffic. Let's have Vagama come in. Anzi Vagama, manzwa response, Brian Munom, Kutanzi, it's not just rank marshals. There's a lot of chaos beyond that.
All right, Brian, you spoke of street kids, you spoke of Zimbuya, meaning city council employees, you spoke of everyone who's involved in that. Okay, let's go to street kids. My street kids, Brian, I wonder, but what is the solution? We must take a holistic approach to all right. But street kids are why are the street kids in our streets? Why are there so many now? So you go, it's actually an economic situation here around the country. People are struggling with this and that. Even people who are going to work, people who work every day. The people are earning maybe $100 a month. They have to pay rent, fees, blah, 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 and everything. So, kids, it's often about the government, Department of Social Welfare. But how do we handle street kids? So, it's difficult. I'll tell you, I heard a story today. There were some street kids who were taken away. But they'll come back, they'll find their way back because that's not a solution. Chase that's not a solution. It needs everyone. Everyone must come in. Then we talk of the street, spare thought for those street cleaners. The same people are totally one of the man town and so on, those ladies, one of 5 a.m., 4 a.m. or clean. If you go to street at 6 a.m., they'll be street. By 9, they'll be clean. By 9 a.m., street must be food. Yet, we are supposed to work together, like Nana Brian, to make sure our streets are clean. We are in Makombi, we are in Matao. Vanorasa futi marara pese instead of kuti vachengete marara makombi avo vozonorasa kuma designated place. And you know makombi anofanira kunge ane bhini rekurasira marara.
Each combi must have that garbage bin in there. Yes.
Yes.
As you are saying that, I'm just wondering, Vagama, so is there room, what then needs to happen if there are individuals such as Brian saying, pani gap rasiwa ni council, without tivare gap iroro for the benefit of the commuting public. Imimi movamat, I was a creature of statute and regulation and authority. Imimi kana musiri kufamba makabata mapepa kadai, we don't recognize you. Is there middle ground anywhere there?
A city guta hanzvadzi yako achisi njeungotamba nazvo. You don't just come kubva kurural area wokoti ndagara mustreet or ndagara mutown. If you come to town, kugara mutown, if you try to settle in town, you must be able to abide by the laws themselves. Malaws emtown akasiyana nemalaws kumusha kwangu shuru handimunowisa totally different. Kana wauya mustreet mune malaws town mune malaws are totally different which are tougher. So it's up to you to choose kugara mutown imomo or kuenda kumusha. Because kana wagara mutown chiziva kuti wakusangana nezvepo nemutemo wemo, you have to face the realities of staying in a city. A city is not easy. A city is not child's play. You don't go to London, go to New York, there's nothing like that.
Saka panika kuderera ere. Saka topaita sei na Vagama.
Panika kuderera kati serious ngekuti isusu futi tofanira kuti tichidza chamboko chedu chakasimba kumeka sure kuti street edu aita normal. I mean, we can't have that chaos every day. No, it's not about SADC for us.
Okay, all right. It's beyond the SADC, the SADC summit.
Look, munhu anotengera girlfriend yake wiki iwani kamuka mupana kane 10 years kungomubvutira kotiza uchakwanisa ukabata. Because our streets are pegged these days. So many people, mawindi, matau, tsarutaura.
But the buck stops with you as the regulator. You have a duty of care to the citizens. So we look to you. Kuti mutotichengetedza.
No, ndokatete bantu kuti tofana kubatsirana.
Okay, fantastic. Pakubatsirana ipapo ndo pendanga ndichiti panoitwa sei ipapo. Is there room for kuti mubatane nevanhu vari organized for the purposes of kubatsirana in those?
No. What I'm saying is, let's clear the street space. Like so far we're working in Zimbabwe police very well. Let's clean the street space. Let's tangira ipapo, right? Clean am street akutanga kuita zoti, right? Kuti upine mutaro unofana kufamba so. As it is, who do we negotiate? Okay, I'll give you an example. Pane my representatives, my vendors, my representatives, my combi, vanouya kutown house, vachitaura nyaya dzavanotaura. But if you look deeper, vanova havasikana in touch nemavendors, mavendors hatovazivi. So what do we do?
Yeah, Brian wanted to come in quickly, then I want us to move on to the next aspects of this discussion. There's quite a lot to discuss. Brian Apozhanzi, pamwe mimi murukutongoita screensaver. Mationa pekuitira marina pans, you are not organized, you don't represent the interests of the people you say you represent. Pakapiwa mienzaniso emavenda. How do you respond?
Okay, I think the first thing that I noted was my colleague actually acknowledged, especially when I touched on street kids, that it is beyond us. We are looking at the economic situation. I would put it at socio-economic even for rank marshals as well. You're looking at a situation where we have drivers who lost their jobs. I've alluded to that before. And we're looking at children that are coming straight from high school, right? They're coming to look for jobs. Some of them, they're conductors. Not all of them are registered. We used to have Zudak, where we used to register our drivers and conductors. Right now, we have GACO, Greater Harare Association of Commuter Omnibuses. We are registering our drivers and our conductors there, right? But with the rank marshals, in as much as they are bringing their order, they are not yet recognized. I'm happy particularly with the topic of community engagement. He has actually alluded to say we need to assist each other, right? But how are we going to assist each other? It's firstly when you recognize that we are living with people that are assisting in the ranks, right? You acknowledge your gap, then we move in to actually assist each other. I'm here, I represent them, right? Not all of them, but I'm here as part of the system, right? To actually say we actually have that room, we actually have that opportunity. Thank you for this program. We've actually come to a point whereby I can safely say tomorrow I'm going to Mr. Gama's office and say, I'm here, this is Brian, can we work on something? This is my research, this is what I've done before. I've worked with City of Harare. We've done cleanup campaigns with City of Harare, right? Not specifically as rank marshals, but as an operator as well. And we were working with the we actually relate very well.
Is that an acceptable term? It is.
No, but I'm actually using the term on the ground,
okay.
Because I want you to see that, I'm actually there on the ground, right? There is a term in Chigunduru. You remember our singer?
The late Soldier Love.
Soldier Love, yeah. Chikunduru, you know what? On the street, it means those guys that are living on the streets and surviving on the streets. But I'm particularly happy with the fact that my colleague has actually raised that we need to come up with sustainable solutions to this chaos or to this issue that is at our end. Maybe you can move on to that.
Absolutely. Vagama, moving on to the next aspect of this discussion. How does council plan to improve accountability and transparency in the management of these markets and ranks? You talked about the ones that you have taken over. There are always allegations of corruption that is happening between the rank marshals, between the touts and council employees, and sometimes the police are also put into that bracket. How will you move past these issues and improve transparency moving forward as you take over and take back management of these city council ranks and markets?
Okay. If you look at 4th Street rank now, transparency is improved. Agustina Marshals is only city council employees, and every combi, no pinda mea, seated. They pay, then they get a receipt. So far, so good. We have monitors who are not monitor to properly for corruption. Also, with regards to municipal police, we have a great team, anti-corruption within the municipal police. And I'm sure you're aware, since the beginning of the year, I think we have suspended about 20, between 15 and 20 municipal police officers.
And this is in the city of Harare?
Yes, this is the city of Harare. So the team, I will get the number, then I will share some other time. But I will have the number. The corruption. And you know, corruption has it's not only about of Harare employees or what. Corruption is consequence, but the issues we are taking a stand. No. Let's fight corruption in our city. So we also to my brother Brian. Unfortunately, yes, Copacabana started to take over because of some infrastructural issues, but as soon as some piece of the infrastructure were also taking it over. So I want to do this and this and this. So as is acceptable or not. Let's get rid of the problem first. Then those charges later. Even my engagement that's not any time, Brian, welcome to come to my office tomorrow, 5. And our teams are waiting for such engagement, especially municipal police.
Another big question that then follows that, Mr. Gama, is the issue of revenue collection. And Matimukaita take over. That means fines are then collected by yourselves and so on. Corruption. But what are the plans that council has to improve revenue collection system, and what will happen with Mario Inozoenda Kupi? Is there a way that the public can be, or at least the Harare public,
right,
can be made to know what happens with that money?
Yes. Remember, everything is ready to come to open, it's ready to whatever resolution, people can come and check. But what we are saying is we raise the money, it falls, it's Copacabana, it's Market Square. That money is invested back, market Momo, is invested back in my road and Ofamba Motorism. But what we are saying is, why should someone, it's not going to cost, come, $1 for every combi of the why? It should be saying, you don't know when then can go improve a marenki. Remember, my toilet can improve. Our population is growing. We need more toilets. We need MMO. We need we need to improve our roads. Our roads are not proposed. And for many more carries roads, put by income. So this kind of what we want to do. We want to collect every cent to the Bingham Council, not to the Bingham individuals.
Then pakuzo tiudzawo as the members of the public munenge makutiudzawo here kuti mari yacho iri kuenda kupi, how much has been collected.
If you want information on how, we can always do that. Even if you ask me tomorrow, my market kumbare or renge kumbare primary, I can tell you as long as I check the record. One of my cards is
fantastic. I think I will take you up on that, perhaps in another discussion. Thank you so much for those answers. Pane, pane my questions are we pa WhatsApp platform yangu, but I think vagama vati hands on a different occasion vanokwanisa kuzoprepare a revenue yakacollectwa from the ranks that have been taken over. Tonzwa kuti Mario yakashanda chi kana kuti hurongwa hwayo wakamira sei. Brian, I want to address the elephant in the room. Are you saying that there's no chaos that is caused by touts and rank marshals? Kune vanhu panapa vari kuti vanhu vanotongotipa ma-problems, and it's important to acknowledge that they are terrorizing people. So how do we then separate the organized from the touts and really topagadzirisa sei ipapo?
It is very difficult, and I cannot deny because we've heard of the allegations. Complaints have arisen, especially from the public. But I would like our listeners to understand one thing or two or three. We've got rank marshals that are operating in the ranks. Then we've got individuals that are operating in the streets. Then we've got other individuals that are operating on buses, not only combis. In my opinion, or from what I've read or experienced, a lot of harassment is actually happening on the buses, the conventional buses. You look at buses that are going to Blawayo, right? You have got 4 buses that are loading at the same time. There's competition for people. You get people harassing, actually, pulling people. We've heard of a lady who was pulled and stuff and like that. Then you've got individuals that are working on the streets, what we call street ranks, or in Shona Mshika, right? To a certain degree, or to a lesser extent, there is also that aspect, right? But if you look at those that are operating in the ranks, because combis are in a sequence, they're in a queue, there is little harassment. Although we acknowledge that there is incidences that have happened whereby people have been, it is. But like I said, we are living in a community. Sometimes it's not even the rank marshal. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's our own drivers and conductors. That's why even for GACO, they've actually come with a code of conduct. They've actually raising this issue of ethical conduct amongst their drivers and conductors, because it's not only the rank marshals. Remember, the point of me coming here is to make it clear to the authorities and even those, our passengers, to say, in circumstances where you have actually been harassed, we do not rush to say they are rank marshals. Some of them, they're drivers. Some of them, they're conductors. So when you look at this whole aspect, if we are going to say we need to improve the conduct of our people, right, we are not only looking at rank marshals. We are not only looking at drivers and conductors. Sometimes even the operators, right, because it also comes from there, right? So we need to look at this holistically, right, to say our behavior, how are we managing our behavior? Allow me to go back to what my colleague said in terms of, taking over the ranks. I thought I should pose a question to him. I did mention that, the coming in of these rank marshals, it wasn't because a municipal was failing, right? There was actually a gap of who was manning the ranks, right? Right now, or actually if you read from the Sunday Mail yesterday, there is an issue that the government is actually taking over some of these things, public transport management, because the city of Harare is actually declared incapacitated.
Just until the SADC summit is held, and then they will hand it over. That was my understanding of that.
Okay, then that is good. But we're saying we want to look for sustainable solutions, right? I did allude to the fact that a rank marshal, they direct traffic.
It's clear incapacitation. Where?
It's in the Sunday Mail, sir. But allow me to finish. Thank you. We are saying, do we have enough manpower? Because we want to have sustainable solutions. Some of these colleagues, we actually want them to work for City of Harare, right? Because it's employment. We did talk about the economic situation. We want them to move from the informal to the formal, right? So if I'm posing a question, it's an honest question. Do you have the adequate manpower, right?
Vagama mubvunzo uyanzi manpower, but I heard that you wanted to come in and interject there. I believe you was referring to the taking over of certain things. I think it was waste collection and road. It was a headline in the 7th of July's issue of Sunday Mail. Government takes over Harare ahead of SADC summit.
Yeah, but usually with the reports, media reports, I have to check both sides. When I checked council, apart from declare incapacitation, because I will need to see that later. If Brian can show me the letter or we can show me the letter. No. But anyway, that's not the main issue. I'm sure I said wait for another day. I also wanted to raise another very important point. It's also the police, the Zetarapi, that is the municipal police. In the agreement, you put any case of corruption involving where someone venda machitiji vanhu vari kusungwa ipapo ende kupota isikumira nyaya irusika ichingoprosida ichingorohwa munhu achitorwa jerera achi ipapo izonge zvapuruvha kuti katika corruption and tinotori neagreement iyo nemapurisa kuti iyo its very swift whether ari wedu wekumunicipal police or council employee or child marshal zvese zvimwe chete. And also pane imwe point yaraiswa nazvavataura kuti madriver vataura vauga to us, I mean in terms of behavior towards the residents, kombi driver, the conductor, south rank marshal, to us they are the same. What's the difference? The difference is all of them abuse people. And I don't mean 100% of them, but the majority of them, they abuse people. So what we do, we should take action and stop it.
Abagama, I hear your point. You're saying all of these must just come to an end and you are taking over a city council. We're fast running out of time. We've got to go to the news at 7. Your parting shot, kuneva katerera panaui in terms of the city council's position, Mr. Gama, before we close it off.
Yeah, what we're saying is the city council, residents must trust us, they must trust our process. We are doing all we can to take over our ranks so that they become normal, they become easy for everyone to use. And we were going to invest in that, and it will succeed.
Fantastic, Vagama. Thank you so much. Coming to you, Brian, as quickly as you can. Ending off your parting shot before we go to the news.
I think, thank you. I think one takeaway thing is that we need to come together to actually, discuss these issues. We could have talked and talked. There is an issue of voluntary payments that we didn't mention and stuff like that. But I think to Mr. Gama, kindly expect me in your office tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think the one thing we can take away is we agreed that panoda kakubatana a multi-sectoral approach. Mr. Gama, thank you so much for your time and for your insights on this very important issue. Brian, thank you so much for coming through. And I do hope that your engagements will bear fruit. Vagama, thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Brian, thanks so much. Good night.
Good night.
Wonderful. With that, the time is exactly 7 o'clock. It's time for the news.